An animated retelling of Charles Dickens' classic novel about a Victorian-era miser take on a journey of self-redemption courtesy of several mysterious Christmas apparitions.
Welcome to the Walt Vault with
Michelle,
Andre,
Louise,
and me, Emily. We're a family-friendly podcast where we pick a new Disney movie each week. We watch it, share our thoughts, and then relate it to pop culture, fandoms, and anything else that pops into our heads. Enjoy!
hello and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 85. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you.
Y'all should have picked a happier movie for the happiest time of year. Boom, boom.
This week we are talking about 2009's A Christmas Carol, starring Jim Carrey, directed by Robert Zemeckis, and some other folks are in here as well. You guys chose this movie. Our Christmas fan vote went up. You had to choose between Home Alone, the new movie Noel, and this movie, A Christmas Carol, and this movie won. And I was like, oh, wow, our people must like this a lot because it must be good. And
I don't think they watched it.
yeah, I need to comment down below. Why did you do this to us? Why did you force us to sit through this? Now, I'm going into my first impressions. I remember.
Dang. Wait, Andre, what's your first impression?
Oh, okay. I remember when
You need an introduction.
the trailers for this movie were coming out, and I was like, oh, okay, Christmas Carol. They're doing it again. It's got Jim Carrey. That'll be fun or whatever. And then, I skipped over it and I didn't watch it because I don't know why I didn't watch it.
Because you were in your senior year of high school and you had other things going on.
Yeah, other stuff going on.
It came out in 2009, right?
2009. So when you guys chose it for this viewing, I was like, okay, cool. Here we go. I'm ready to see some Jim Carrey hilarity and be whimsied for an hour and a half. And I was depressed for an hour and a half instead. This movie really bummed me out. Like,
He's still feeling the
supremely.
effects.
I still feel bad.
And the best part is there's different reasons for the bumming.
Yeah.
It's not just because of like one area of bumming.
Holy moly. It's like, hey, Jim Carrey's not funny in this. Hey, there's like no laughter. Hey, the animation's bad. Hey, the music's slow. The movie is slow. This is a bad movie.
And then, whoa, it's very depressing.
It's so depressing.
It's very depressing. Huh.
Did we
Louise
mention the
fir-
animation is horrible?
The animation is
Louise first impression?
Sucks.
I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna piggyback off Louise. My first impression is I texted them and I said this movie sucks. So there we go. That's how I feel about it.
I'm really angry at you guys for picking this one, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He's angry.
Oh, angry.
I'm right there with Lou.
Waste of an hour and 50 minutes.
That's how long it was. It felt way longer.
This movie.
Well, I'm assuming it's an hour 50.
I'm pretty sure it was 4 hours and 37
It's
minutes.
an hour and 36 minutes,
Well,
but it
that was
feels
close.
like a heavy 3.5.
Andre and I usually talk to each other through movies, like about the movie as it's happening, and I'm pretty sure we just sat there staring at the screen with our mouths open, like this is.
I was waiting for it to maybe get good, and
I think halfway through the movie, I said, "I hate this," and he was like, and then we just kept watching it. We have Emily, first impression.
Mine is a sad first impression. So let's just bring down this depressing party even more. Can you turn on the light? I'm getting more depressed because it's dark in here. Lou, I'm being serious. Can you turn on the light, please?
Yeah, Andre was sad this morning too because he was thinking about this movie.
So I remember like diddly squat about most things in life. Like I just don't have a good memory. But I remember probably every movie I ever went to go see with my dad because we have a very strained relationship, as we know. And so I just remember those things very vividly.
Yeah.
And he took me to go see this movie in theaters. And so I remember enjoying it because it was a day where we didn't fight. I'm serious. Like, it's embarrassing.
Oh, you've seen this?
Yes. So it's embarrassing that I have to remember something fondly because it was a day where we didn't literally like almost duke it out. Okay.
That is very interesting.
So, like I said, when we watched the Haunted Mansion episode, I was like, I remember loving this movie. And that was another movie that my dad took me to. And it was a very good memory.
Right.
So the movie was fantastic in my brain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So going into this, I will tell you, normally, I do not like Jim Carrey. I don't like him here. I don't like him there, anywhere.
All
Not
right.
in a box at all.
Not even in The Mask?
No, I don't like Jim Carrey.
Dr. Emily Seuss.
You don't like him as the Grinch?
I have a toddler.
Grinch?
I hate him as the Grinch.
That's my favorite Grinch movie.
Oh my God. Get out of my house.
Wow.
I
didn't
don't
know this about her.
I don't like him. So
Okay.
when we went to go watch this movie, I thought, well, I really did like this movie. And I don't like him, but I must have liked it, so let's rewatch it.
Mhm.
And just like you guys, Luis and I just kept like, oh my. And then
Oh,
on
dear.
top of the fact that it's actually pretty frightening. Like there's some like
I told
scary parts.
Andre it was a horror movie. That
And
was a
we're
horror movie.
watching it with Adeline, and she was
Oh,
understanding the
no.
scary for the first time, and she
Right.
was like, "Woo!" Like
Yeah.
the first time
Oh, poor baby.
Marley on the door knocker,
Mhm.
she lost her mind. So I know this is a long first impression, but the impression is that I have seen this before, and I remember enjoying the experience and or enjoying the movie.
Mhm.
And this time, whoa, Nelly!
Whoa, Nelly.
It was a
So-
movie that should not have been a movie.
Holy
So here's a
moly.
little bit more of my first impression. I think when I think, and we'll get more into this because we were talking about how we're going to talk a little bit about the history of A Christmas Carol and how there's so many variations.
It's a lot of
As
adaptations.
adaptations, thank you, whatever. Variations, adaptations.
Well,
same
both
That works.
because in
Um,
literary form,
yes,
in
yes.
film, plays.
The Christmas Carol that I grew up watching was Mickey's A Christmas Carol with the little tiny mouse as Tiny Tim and, you know, and the ghosts were kind of funny in that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I liked that version of the Christmas Carol. That's what I watched every year as a kid growing up. So that's what I was thinking this movie was going to be
Well,
like.
and pause right there because my version of A Christmas Carol is the Muppets version,
Same.
which
And that's
is
your version too, babe?
Yes.
which is funny.
It's hilarious.
It's
Luis
hilarious.
is giving a thumbs up.
It's got very fun musical interludes,
Mhm.
and to be honest, they even poke fun at the fact like this is a scary part.
Right.
Like they narrate that, so it's actually it which in some ways, which we'll talk about, like you said, historically, it's not supposed to be funny. This movie is not a
No,
comic,
it's not.
a comedy.
It's not.
But when you grow up with it, viewing it from a child's perspective as a comedy, this is horrifying.
And you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about all the parents who took their children to the theater to like show them this movie, A Christmas Carol, and their
Ooh.
children were probably crying.
Let me see. Where did I write? I definitely wrote in my notes within the first 15 minutes of the movie. If I was a kid, I would have walked out by now. This movie is awful from the jump.
No, you would have been watching it because you would have been so scared that you wouldn't have been able to look away.
No, I would have been like, "This is boring. I'm leaving. get me into
Well,
and
I
I
think you would have felt
but I
the
think
fear.
it
Frozen 2 or
depends-
whatever."
but I think it depends on what age group, because there's, like Michelle's saying, there's a difference between Addie was glued to us. I mean,
Mhm.
she was glued into the
And she
seat
couldn't stop watching
because
it,
she
huh?
was scared.
Right.
And then I was like, "Do you want to stop watching?" And she was like, "No," but she was like up against us with her hands on either side.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But then you get a little bit older, if you were a teenager, even like moderately like mid elementary, you
I
would be
think,
like,
like,
"Oh no."
Anywhere around, if I
Yeah.
was like 7 to 12
Mhm.
watching this movie and they're speaking in Dickens speak the whole time and nothing is happening until Marley shows up, I would have been like,
Mhm. So it's very traditional in that sense. It was definitely the adaptation is in Dickens style, in I think what he would consider what his want for how it was presented.
Mhm.
It was the correct speech, like he
Which
said.
is which is so funny because if we think about all fairy tale movies that Disney has made, they make them happy. Like, doesn't the Little Mermaid die? I'm pretty sure she dies.
Oh, for sure.
She turns
You know,
into foam.
But
Into
what,
foam,
this is
yeah.
the one time that they decided to be like, let's make it real like the book.
Well,
No.
and
For real.
I understand them wanting to do that. I think I read a quote from Jim Carrey saying like, "Yeah, this is the most faithful adaptation
Mhm.
of Charles Dickens' novel," and it's
I
like,
never want to read that book.
listen, think whatever you want to think about Charles Dickens. I think he's a super boring writer because when he was writing at the time, you got paid by the word. So he made everything as long and not even necessarily flowery, but like long and diatribe as humanly possible so that
Interesting.
he could get that paper. And as much as I appreciate that, the actual wording of it is bad. It's not
Interesting.
It's not interesting. It's not easy to read. It's not fun. It's it's none of those things.
Then
And-
why did we glom onto this? Why do we have so many versions of this story?
Well, I think because when it came out, I mean,
Do you want me to
Charles-
give you some history?
Yes,
I'll tell you why.
Yes, please. Hit,
So-
hit us with it.
So this is like a little bit of Mr. Dickens' background. So
Charles.
Senor Charles, he
Charles.
he was, oh man, I have like 17 versions of what
And
I'm trying
also,
to read.
if our listeners really like Charles Dickens and A Christmas Story, don't take what we're saying as offensive because it's this version. We didn't enjoy it. Okay.
And if you
We're
totally
not
dug
saying
it,
we
go
hate-
for it.
We're not saying we hate A Christmas Carol because we like Muppets and Mickey version.
So pretty much, I can't find I literally had a whole thing up, and now I can't find it. But
She'll
so
find it.
Charles Dickens lived in the 1800s, and here we go. He was born in 1812, and he lived in the UK. His father was a clerk in the Navy Pay Office, and he was thrown into debtor's prison when in 1824. So 12-year-old Charles Dickens was sent to work in a factory. Okay,
Yeah,
and he
sounds about
literally
right.
was
Classic child labor. From
right?
The 1800s.
treated
Sounds about
super
right.
miserably. And so children in that institution, debtor's jail, all that kind of stuff became topics of his novels because that's what he knew.
Right.
So that's why we see a huge emphasis on the disparity between the rich, the poor, like workhouses, like are there no workhouses? Are there no jails? All that kind of stuff.
And that's in a few of his other books as well.
Right. So that's why we see that. But it's really interesting because when he wrote this book, he was, like Andre said, he was kind of a starving artist of the time, because when you would write, apparently you would write in series. So you would write like a little piece of a story, a little piece of a story, a little piece of a story.
They each get published one at a time. And
But this was the first time he wrote a story all at once and by the word. So he wrote it in 6 weeks and tried to get it out as fast as possible. So he was trying to write about the disparity between classes and stuff, but he was trying to do it in a way that he hadn't ever written before. So that's why it seems a little disjointed between the different ghosts and things. But it is interesting because it was not a comedy. It was not supposed to be fun and fanciful. And it was, which this version did, it was supposed to be different versions of Scrooge himself every time a ghost appeared to him. So I don't know if you guys realize this.
that was a
Yeah.
huge surprise to me.
Right.
Like,
that Jim Carrey played the ghost.
He was playing all three
Yeah,
of the
he
ghosts. So
I hated the candle
when
one.
yes,
No
so
wonder all three ghosts I despise.
I'm pretty sure that candle thing is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was
So when
interesting.
I was cringing.
the candlestick shows up, and he's speaking
It's
in
not
this.
like that in
he's
Mickey
speaking in
Christmas
this, like-
Carol. It's
No.
not a candle.
He's speaking in this like Irish
It's always
accent.
like light of some sort.
Yeah.
I was like, "Who is this? Is this like Colin Farrell or something like that? Who is doing this? Because it's weird." And then I realized that it's Jim Carrey and that he did all of the ghosts, and I'm like, "Oh."
And he got to
Why?
choose
he
how
didn't
he
do Marley though, or did he?
No, I don't think he. Was
he got to
Marley.
choose how he wanted to do his dialects, and apparently he did like he did it was Irish, right? For that
Mhm.
first one.
Yeah.
He did like an Irish person because this is literally what I read. I did an Irish voice because I thought they're great storytellers. And in the middle one, I did a like uptown like British person because they're the most festive. And then in the dead one, I didn't do the dead one.
That doesn't speak. So.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I really appreciate your in-depth knowledge of the time period.
For
Yeah,
this
as soon as I
movie.
saw that candle thing come on stage and it started talking, I told Andre I was terrified. I was like, I don't like this. Also, I don't like movies that make me think about death a lot, and this movie definitely did that.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with the movie making me think about death. But
not in this way.
Yeah, not in this one.
No thanks. No.
So another interesting piece of this that they brought in that I have never seen in an adaptation that I am aware of, or even like just like the stories that I've read about the Christmas Carol, is they focused in on the Ghost of Christmas Present's ability to interact with the two children underneath his cloak.
That was
Yeah.
gross.
Okay.
I had never seen
What
that
was
before.
that? I'd never seen
So
that.
this was in the original book,
That was
and it was
disgusting.
very important to him. It was a boy who was ignorance and a girl who was want.
Ignorance and want.
Ignorance and want. So they're saying that. And guess what? His collaborator was Karl Marx.
Oh. Okay.
So there you go.
Okay.
So they're saying that.
Oh, you guys didn't know that?
I did not know that. That
Shut up,
is
No, real.
hilarious.
They're saying that a fearsome consequence of not solving the problems of
Of like
of-
today of
of
society.
today's society is to have ignorance and want in your life. And it's going to come to the rich and poor alike, no matter how you deal with it. And so that's why the children seem so feral and so separate, is because he's saying this is what we're going to end up like if we continue living the way we're living. And if you think of it from like a social perspective, I kind of love it. Like, more power to you. It's a great idea, but
it was terrifying.
But it was terrifying. And
did Addie watch this whole movie?
Oh, she watched the whole dang thing. But
Oh
Louise
my
during that part was like, Addie, look at me. And we're both looking at the TV like,
I mean, this movie was a horror movie.
Right. It was pretty scary. And the what do you call it? Just like the I can't even. The feelings it made you feel was just as scary as what you were watching.
Dude.
The way they moved, it looked like a horror movie. I was like, is this The Grudge?
For
like,
sure.
What's going on?
So it's really interesting because I think the things that we don't like about this movie are actually very true to the original telling.
Sure.
Which is
So
fine.
in that way, you can't really hate on that part, but we can definitely hate on the animation.
Yeah. Holy
You can hate on the music, like you said. And you know what you can totally hate on? How slow it was. This could have been a good 90 minutes.
It could have been
60.
74. Holy
I'm trying
moly.
to give it some credit time, okay?
But, like, just the way that it starts, and it's like panning over the city, and we're going to see Scrooge, and he's hanging out at his desk, and then a guy's asking him for money for charity, and he's like, no. Let me talk to you for 5 whole minutes about why I'm not going to give you money. And it's like, all right, we probably could have cut this down to a couple of lines to move this along to get to the ghost stuff, which is what we all came here to see, right?
Which is funny because you missed the beginning scene, which I totally didn't remember, where literally you're in the mortuary, morgue.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And there are coins over
And it's literally
Marley's eyes.
Marley chillin', and here come the coins on his eyes, and the what do you call that? The mortician.
Mortician, yeah.
Is like,
Hey,
the Undertaker. You need to pay me,
You have to
and
pay.
Scrooge was like,
I'll give you 1 coin, and I'll give you another coin.
and then he took the coins off of Marley's eyes, which was like, I came into this movie expecting to see Jim Carrey being a funny Scrooge.
right.
And so when he's doing that, I was like, okay, Scrooge. I guess you can take from this dead body. Sure, that's pretty funny. And then a little bit later, he's like walking down the street and he sees the carolers singing, and then he just stares at them until they like all shut up. I was like, that is a baller move. I'm gonna do that next time somebody's getting on my nerves. But then that's it. That's the only parts of Scrooge being mean that I enjoyed at all in this movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's even like where it seemed like it may be funny.
Mhm.
And I don't mean to jump around, but it's not like we don't all know the story.
Yeah.
I feel like they tried at one point to make a funny, like they were trying very intentionally to make a comedic scene out of something that they have made way too terrifying when we're in the third ghost and he gets like small and he's running from the
Yeah.
horse. So I think they're trying
That
to make
was
it
so
funny.
weird.
But it's like, no, you already took us to terrifying. Like, you can't now make this funny.
You know-
It's now just awkward and long.
I'm trying to remember. Like, I haven't rewatched the trailer recently, but I remember the trailer from when it was originally coming out.
Did it seem funny?
Well, no, but it seemed
He's smiling
fun.
in the trailer a lot.
That, I think that scene is basically all that was shown in like the trailer. It's like him sliding down rooftops and him like flying through space and stuff like that, and him going up into the sky and whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, this is gonna be some kind of crazy Scrooge adventure.
Sure.
But it's just that 10 minutes of movie or whatever, and then the rest of it is like.
So it was better for the trailer than it was for the actual
Oh,
movie.
yeah, the trailer. We watched the trailer because apparently that was the only thing you could watch on Disney Plus was the trailer.
That's right.
Oh,
Sorry, guys.
about that.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I would like to
Louise
apologize.
has
to everyone
something
for
to
Louise
say.
that.
No, you got to quit that nonsense, Disney Plus. If you don't have it, don't advertise it.
Right.
He is
Why?
very
It's really our fault.
Wasting
guys. We
your
apologize.
time, wasting my time, wasting the precious pennies I pay for your thing every month. Don't do it.
Wow, you sound like Scroogey right
It's
there.
not
That was
available
fantastic.
till November 6th of 2020.
So
Really
the
appreciate
main
that.
reason that this movie was even in our Christmas vote for this year is because I saw it on Disney Plus. I was scrolling through, I saw Christmas Carol there. I was like, oh, okay, that's a Christmas movie. We'll throw
So
that
we
in.
didn't have to watch
And
this
I didn't,
at all.
I didn't select it to try to watch it right then because I didn't want to watch it right then. But then we get to about to watch it like 2 days ago for for this podcast, and it's like,
This movie is not yet available.
Good to
and,
know.
So
I'm gonna click
wait.
into everything that I possibly want to
Yeah,
watch and
holy
see that
moly.
it's not available.
So wait, I shouldn't be angry at the viewers for choosing this. I should be angry.
yeah, you
at
should be angry at me specifically, but
No,
I'm
be
angry,
angry
at
Disney
Plus.
Plus.
So through me, we're angry at the same person.
It's a good extension of everyone to be angry.
But
at.
Luis is only giving me dagger eyes right now, and I understand that.
I gotta
I'm gonna
take
take
those back.
responsibility for that.
It's hard to be angry at you, Andre.
Thank you.
So.
Well, and there's no Disney Plus in the room, so I guess he can't be mad
yeah,
at it.
we can't drop kick them at the moment. So yeah, I was that was upsetting, but that made me think that, like, okay, so the trailer, it looks all fun and a wild ride
Yes.
or whatever, and then you get to the movie, like the marketing. There wasn't too much on like the production of this movie and like how it came to be and why it was marketed the way that it was, but I don't know how it got from let's adapt Charles Dickens' original novel to let's throw Slippy Slidey Jim Carrey all over the
Slippy
place
Slidey.
in the trailer, you know, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's such a disparity from one to the other that it feels like they're deliberately deceiving me, you know, like I go in to watch
I'm
this
actually
movie
very angry.
and they're giving me the slowest, driest, saddest
Can you
Christmas movie I've ever seen.
seriously? Can you please tell me what this style of animation is called? Because don't just tell
Is
me
it like
that this is
3D?
regular animation. This is
It
a
sucked, though.
thing,
We didn't like it.
and I don't want to see it.
I mean, I guess you could call it.
Is it a type? Is it a thing?
I don't know. You know, not to my knowledge, it's not like a specific type of. I mean, okay, so Robert Zemeckis directed this movie.
Yes.
He also directed The Polar Express, in
Which
like
I also did not
2006,
like
something like that.
in an animation
Yes.
way.
So I like The Polar Express. It's a much more fun movie than this, but it has the same pitfalls of animation where I think it's just. I can't even say that. I can't even say that it's just the technology of the time because, like, Tangled came out 2 years like after this. You know
And
what
it
I'm
was
saying? And it
gorgeous.
looks gorgeous. And there are plenty of Disney movies that look gorgeous. Shrek looks better than this movie, and it came out like 2002 or whatever.
Shrek always is the best.
And it's like embarrassing how ugly everyone in this movie is.
Well, and I kind of wonder, like,
Very ugly.
I'm not, and now this is going to sound like I'm making fun of people with acne. I am not making fun of people with acne, but, like, there is some stuff happening on people's faces up in this movie. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Like,
at all. It's
like, I don't know, were they trying to make the people look, like, okay, I get that there's, like, a way to make people look like they're of a lower class or
Mhm.
something, but, like, the people were straight not fun to look at.
right.
In every way possible.
Like it's.
Did
I
you
think
make coffee and only make coffee for your dang self, Scrooge?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like
This marriage is about to be Scrooged, y'all.
oh dear.
Uh-oh.
Gonna have to get 3 ghosts to save this marriage.
The ghost of coffee, Java,
And
and
espresso.
espresso.
of the future.
Hey, I made the
Espresso of the future.
hey, I made the coffee.
But it's not in my hand. Okay, moving on.
Um,
Andre looks to see if the coffee's
I
over
was
there.
I was trying to see if there's more in the pot.
Well, Luis asked Andre if he wanted coffee. I'm pretty sure he said yeah.
Well, I was like, I didn't answer. That was-
You know what? I'll make you some coffee, Andre,
Okay, well,
because I am the giving ghost of Christmas all the time.
The
Go
giving
for it.
ghost of
Forgive
Christmas
me
all
for
the time.
being-
That's a good name, okay?
Forgive him, Father, for he has sinned by
Oh.
not giving Emily coffee.
Truth. Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening.
Forgive me for being the one who teaches self.
Also, listeners,
Self what? Self what? We're both on the same mic. What you gonna say? What you gonna say? I could eat your nose right now.
Self-reliance and not dependent on anyone.
anyways, the point is we're all sick here, people. We're sick.
I want to keep harping on how ugly the animation is.
It's bad.
Okay, so
it's
like,
terrible.
if I can add to that, they seem too rounded and Gumby.
yeah.
The only one who really was not rounded was Scrooge.
Yeah,
From what I
but
could
I
really
didn't
tell.
like Scrooge because I don't understand why his chin kept getting larger and larger and larger as he got older
So
and older.
that's another thing. They show Scrooge as like a kid.
He has a round face.
And not only does he not look anything like Scrooge presently, but he also doesn't look anything like Jim Carrey. And it's like, well, you made old Scrooge look like Jim Carrey. Why wouldn't you make super young Scrooge look like a young Jim Carrey?
And then the kid Scrooge.
And then so I give him credit for little kid Scrooge or whatever, and then he gets to be like teenager Scrooge, and
His
he
chin got
still
bigger.
he still looks nothing like Jim Carrey.
But his chin got bigger.
But then you get to like, I'm an adult, it's my first job Scrooge, and he looks like Jim Carrey, and it's like, okay, well that's it's just weird because this all happens in like one scene basically. Like
Yeah.
it's little kid, teenager, adult Jim Carrey, and then Scrooge Jim Carrey, and I don't understand why they paid so much attention to Jim Carrey's old face and so much little attention to Jim Carrey's everything else and to everyone's everything else.
More specifically, his giant chin.
He had a big old chin and a big old nose, and
Gross.
yeah, I mean that's I guess that's part of the cartoony nature of the movie, but at the same time they tried to make
Who
it
directed
very
this movie?
realistic. Robert Zemeckis, who is a celebrated director. He directed all the Back to the Future movies, and he directed.
But he did he pick the animation style? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's not like he didn't pick it. You know.
You know what I mean? I feel like if you're directing it, it's like part of your like thing.
Yeah.
But you know what's really funny about the whole thing is that he looks like, take Jim Carrey's face out of it. I know that sounds stupid because it's totally Jim Carrey's face,
Sure.
but he literally looks like the Wicked Witch from the West.
Yeah.
Of
Right.
the
he
West.
does.
Yes.
Like the nose, the chin, the pointy features. Like
No one
Even the
mourns
hair.
wicked.
like I wonder if it's just supposed to be like because he's like we were talking about archetypes a little bit earlier too, but like if it's because he's like a miser and a bad person, like just he gets more and more like that as time moves on, so he's supposed to look more
But
and
the
more
thing
like
is,
separate from like
If-
the society he lives in. I don't
Yeah.
know.
if it is an archetype, then we should be able to understand it easily from watching it, not being like, why does it look like that?
Oh no,
Why-
for
you know what I
sure.
mean?
That's just my hope for the reason
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because he did look very cherubic as a kid. Like he
Right.
had like
It was
a
cute.
super round little face.
And that would have been fine, and that would have made sense if, okay, so he looks like a cute little kid, and then like a normal adult, and then a gross, ugly old person because he starts getting mean.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the end of the movie, when he becomes like happy again and he's like visiting his nephew, that should have shown more in his face. It
yeah,
should've-
he didn't have like
should've,
rosy
like,
cheeks or
rounded
looked
out.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked exactly the same walking down the street at the end of the movie as he does walking at the
With his
beginning
back
of the movie.
problems.
With his back problems, yeah. He should have, he should have stood up straight. He should have had a smile on his face.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just a mess. But yeah, so Polar Express, Robert Zemeckis, he did that movie, and then he was like, "How can I do this beautiful thing
Oh.
again?" and then
Okay, well
they
that's
jumped
a
into
similar animation style,
Right.
Because I'm not huge on the animation style of Polar Express
this.
either.
No, but they also didn't improve. I can't imagine that they improved upon
I
it.
like the movie, The Polar Express, but I don't really like the animation.
Right. Samesies.
But I don't want to sit here and
Okay, so Robert Zemeckis specifically stated, he said that A Christmas Carol is one of his favorite stories dealing with time travel, which
Really?
is wild to me.
Wait a minute.
He
He
did
made
Back
Back
to
This
to
is
the
the guy who
Future?
made Back to the Future, and he said A Christmas Carol
Wait a
is
minute.
one of his favorite stories regarding time travel.
More so than the time machine?
It doesn't mention the time machine anywhere on this
Because that
Wikipedia
is
page.
a pretty cool book.
Yeah, and a pretty direct correlation to Back to the Future, I would say, more than A Christmas Carol at the very least. But I guess that's neither here nor there. I don't know. So I'm not really sure what went into his decisions on making this movie, but I poo-poo them, and I say, shame, sir, and no thank you.
So I think this is a good time to kind of talk about just a history of the different adaptations. But every time I looked up like a list of it, it was always like trying to rank the different adaptations in order. But this was so funny. So the name of this from Entertainment Weekly, the name of the article says, "I tried ranking A Christmas Carol adaptations and it turned me into a Scrooge," which made me laugh.
Okay.
So I just need to read you the first paragraph because it made me haha.
Yes, please.
I have watched about a dozen adaptations of A Christmas Carol in the last week, and let me just tell you, every one of them deserves to be boiled in its own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through its heart, if you know what I'm saying. That didn't make you laugh as much as it made me
that
laugh.
was-
I don't
Okay.
disagree.
that was
Well,
what the
because
movie-
that's one of the lines in the movie. It's
Mhm.
freaking hilarious. Like, he pretty much says, like, I was up in here trying to have a festive marathon with great enthusiasm,
It's
and
not
I pretty
festive.
much wanted to kill myself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with this person, and I
Right.
only watched one adaptation.
Right? Right?
You know?
So, this is what I found in looking at the lists.
The various-
Michelle, Luis, can you
Mm.
pay attention? You
I'm
both are
paying-
scrolling, and I'm looking at your
Okay,
scrolling
I'm
screen.
paying attention.
There are 49 film adaptations.
Let's make number
Jeez.
50.
Is that
49 film adaptations, according to Wikipedia.
does that include TV as well?
This is plays, musicals, TV programs, and movies, but it's all like visual media that's been recorded.
Gotcha.
49 opportunities. And that is everything from An All Dogs Christmas Carol, Bah Humduck, A Looney Tunes Christmas,
Okay.
all the Christmas carols, A Flintstones Christmas, everybody, there's like Mrs. Scrooge, Regular
I
Scrooge,
mean, those all make sense. Like,
Scrooged with
turn-
Bill Murray, which I
yes.
enjoyed as a
Scrooge
kid.
Mc-
it turns
Duck.
out that you can kind of do this story in like 22 minutes, and it's
I think
You're
The
gonna-
Simpsons did it.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Oh, for sure.
absolutely.
Mickey's Christmas Carol did it.
Mm-hmm.
And Muppets Christmas Carol did it good. So it's really interesting that over time and space, this has been done a million times. But here's the good one that I think we found out kind of to our amazement, that the first ever film adaptation was done in 1901, and it was done in 6 minutes.
Yeah, dude.
In
I
a
watched
s-
it. I watched it.
I would
before we
watch
started.
that.
I just watched it. I mean,
Andre
it's,
did watch it.
it's pretty solid. You know, better than this one.
It was 6 minutes of silent filming in 1901, black and white, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wait, if we were to watch it right now, would the film just like burst into fire at the end?
No, it's actually
No.
on your phone.
get
So
it
there's
on-
no film.
It's
not
on
illegal.
YouTube. If you just type in A Christmas Carol 1901, it'll come up,
Mhm.
and you can watch the whole thing. And
But you can only watch 4 minutes of that 6 minutes.
right, yeah. I guess
I don't know
I
why.
guess
The rest of it's raunchy.
it
Just
cuts off
kidding.
the end.
I don't know.
That'd be amazing. Scrooge comes back to life. He's like, I got a new vigor for life. I'm
You
trying to
know-
do everything.
I'm
Ew.
trying to do it all, y'all. Anywho.
Gross.
Anyways, the point is what I take from that is that this movie doesn't need to be this long, and it doesn't need to be a movie. Because if you can tell the story succinctly in 6 minutes and it's pretty good, what made them think that they needed to stretch it out for like an hour
Well,
or 2 hours?
Well-
they want to get on Dickens' level.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean to be rude,
more
but
detail.
we watch Disney. I mean, most Disney stories could be told in less than 10 minutes.
And,
And
you
we
know-
watch them on a big screen. So I don't...
Maybe they should have put songs in it.
Do you want to hear a singing Jim Carrey in a Scrooge voice?
No.
Me neither. It would have been like Christopher Walken singing as the orangutan.
in the Jungle Book.
No.
No,
Um,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we like books when they turn books into movies. If and when they did make Lord of the Rings into giant extended versions, we watch those all the time. You know,
See-
I'm all about it.
Because they're good.
And
But I think that like we've said, I think that really comes down to the director, the people chosen to play the character, and the mediums
Yeah.
that they choose to do so. I mean, if they had done Lord of the Rings in an animated series, I probably wouldn't like it.
well, they did in the 80s. It's the animated Lord of the Rings. They have 3 of them.
There you go.
And
Probably,
they're-
if I watched it right now, probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't. They're not that great.
So there you go.
With that being said, I think that like this movie, had it been either straight up live action or like 2D animated, I think that would have made me put it on at least a mediocre level
Agreed.
Of-
100%.
of liking it. You know, it's like, okay, this is the Charles Dickens version. It's a little long in the tooth, but it was fine. But
Yeah.
just the fact that I had to sit through this animation style for an hour and a half with this story,
It made it worse.
with these characters, it was like, oh my
Agreed.
goodness
100% agree
gracious.
with that.
Yeah, it was,
Well,
it was
and-
saddening.
Yeah,
His
I just
fingers were grossing me out.
his everything. I don't know. Let's talk money. Did it make money? Did it even make a dollar? I mean, it had to have made $1 because I went and saw it.
It doesn't mean it made anything if they spent more than they made.
That is true.
You know,
Watch it's
That's-
like the most expensive animation style of the time or
it
something.
might be.
That'd be hilarious.
This movie had a worldwide total gross of $325 million.
How much did they spend on it?
$325 million.
Where is its budget? Its budget was 175 to 200 million.
Okay, so it made money.
Yeah, but
Not a
not that
ton.
much. That's pretty expensive for an animated film, and then that budget doesn't include like their marketing budget, which is most of the
Mm.
time like another 50 to 100 million dollars.
Mm.
So they probably only made like tops 20 to $40 million off of this movie,
Yeah.
which I'm sure isn't what they were expecting.
It's
but
more
at the
than I make.
but at the same, yeah, it's definitely more than I got. If you guys want to give me some of that Christmas Carol money, hook it up.
I will stop bashing it right
We'll
now.
take it.
but I have to imagine that them spending that much money on it and then it getting the critical reception that it received is not
Fantastic.
doesn't feel too good, and hopefully that stopped them in their tracks from making anything else like this.
Please.
'Cause,
Well, it's been almost 10 years
almost
and
10
we
years.
haven't. Oh no, it's been 10 years.
yeah,
It's been 10 years. We haven't seen anything else, so
Christmas Carol 2.
they can just keep it.
Jim Carrey's back,
No,
ready to Scrooge.
no more. Speaking of ready to Scrooge, I know we have to do ratings, but I don't even think we should rate it. I'll be honest, I don't even want to rate it.
I don't think we should either.
I feel like 2019 was just a year. I mean, you want to know the best part of 2019? I had an amazing baby, but this has been a bad year for a lot of people. And so I think this was an interesting end to that year. I think it was a culmination
Yeah.
of the year at hand.
Oh, it was pretty good for me and Andre. We had our first year of marriage.
We got first year of marriage. We moved into a new house. We got a new car. We
Okay, fine.
I got a promotion.
I'm talking about people in
Andre got a
we
general.
did all that
promotion.
stuff. So
Okay.
personally, for us, 2019 was pretty good. On the global
I
scale,
feel like people have
though,
not been a happy 2019 though.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
hasn't been great. Hopefully, you guys are all out there having good years. And
Merry Christmas.
personally, I hope that you didn't watch this movie and are just listening to the podcast. Like that's the kind of hope that I have for you. and
Don't
your
watch
lives.
the movie. Just listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I have a hardcore do not recommend for this movie, A Christmas Carol.
We were bound to watch a bad one eventually.
I mean, we watched bad movies before, but
It's probably the worst we've seen.
yeah, I think this one's
This was worse than Smart House.
this is
Oh
worse.
God.
This is worse than Kronk's New Groove.
This is.
I
I actually
didn't
giggled a
make it-
couple times.
we didn't make it through Kronk's New
Had
Groove.
we done it for an episode, I would have watched the whole thing, and I would have at least given it like a 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I ain't giving this no
this
3.
one.
You know
I
what?
don't think I'd give it 3.
Like if
guess what,
someone
guys?
Hold on, Luis. What?
if someone were to get life in prison,
Mm-hmm.
they should make them watch this movie repeatedly until their time is up.
Which is hilarious because we just watched a TV show where, like, they're forever in, like, when you get in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
they get imprisoned, and then they have to watch City of Angels over and over and over and over and over and
Oh
over
my
until they
gosh.
die. And so this is good.
That would be a pretty good punishment.
Well, it's funny
for me.
because they're angels.
Can
so.
I end this on a happy note?
Yeah, what you got?
Oh,
Good
I
luck.
got a happy note because we're going to start off 2020 in a good way
Oh yes.
by
right.
watching a movie that I think we're all excited about.
Yes.
Hold on, but you gotta
Yeah,
preface
wait,
it.
Wait a second.
Oh,
You
okay.
gotta preface
And
it.
also,
Okay, let
let's
Andre do it.
Let's close out A Christmas Carol. So are we're not gonna rate it.
We're not rating it.
You don't
I
It's
don't
give
want to
ratings?
rate it.
Yeah, it's a straight.
Oh,
Okay,
Luis,
Luis is
Luis
gonna
would like
rate
to
it.
rate it.
I'll rate it a. You know, honestly, I don't. We may have mentioned this, but as much as we hate Jim Carrey, or I hate Jim Carrey, he played a pretty good Scrooge.
I don't
He
hate
made
Jim
me.
Carrey.
I'm saying as much as I hate Jim Carrey.
Oh.
I think he played a pretty detestable Scrooge, and I
Yeah,
think
he
it,
played that
I
character.
think he played him the best because Alfred is a pretty good Scrooge, but like it was
Luis
hard
is
for me
talking
to.
about. You have to tell him who
What's
Alfred
his name,
is.
Sir?
He's talking about the guy who plays Alfred in Batman, who played
Michael
Scrooge.
Caine.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine is a very good Scrooge, but like I didn't hate him as much as I hated Jim Carrey as Scrooge because Jim Carrey was nasty.
That
as
is something
Scrooge.
to be said for
He
the
did a
performance in
good
this
job.
movie. That he really makes you not like him.
Every word that came out of my mouth, out of his mouth, I hated.
Yeah, I think it was especially bad for me because I was going in expecting him to be
Yeah.
funny with it at least, and he wasn't. He played it completely straight, and I didn't like it, but he did give a
It
good,
was the
he did
best-
give a good performance.
The best, worst performance.
Yeah,
That's true.
and him as the ghost, I guess, was also playing it straight. I
I was playing it diagonal.
Luis, so what was your rating, Luis?
oh yeah,
You didn't give it a number.
you didn't actually.
Did you want to give it a number?
It was awful.
So 0. Okay.
I'm gonna give it like a 2 because
Yeah,
honestly,
I'll give it a 1.
it was a movie.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 1 only because Jim Carrey was excellent and us hating him.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the only point of that movie.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll say, I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again when we give a low rating. No, I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again.
Oh, I know 100% I will never watch this movie
Yeah.
again. If it
Zero.
ever,
Yeah, no.
if I feel like somebody could like ambush me in an alley and go like, "Hey, you better sit down and watch A Christmas Carol from 2009."
You know what I'm gonna go watch
Take
right
me
now?
out, dude.
I'm gonna go watch Sword in the Stone. I'm gonna raise.
Sword in the Stone,
I'm raising
awesome.
my rating of that movie. I like it now. It's a good movie. We need to redo that episode.
If I came across a copy of this movie on Blu-ray or DVD,
Mhm.
I would throw it into the freezer until it crystallized, and then I would get a
Oh.
jackhammer and destroy it.
Wow.
Ooh.
That
You
sounds
couldn't
like
just
fun.
like jackhammer it. Why does it have to be frozen?
He's got
Because it's gonna crack.
Because it's a winter movie.
Yeah.
He's gonna freeze it like
Scenery,
Scrooge's
imagery.
heart.
And high-powered machinery.
Okay. Anyways, the good news. The good news.
Yeah, so that's A Christmas Carol. It got a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's real bad. No,
It's rotten.
no me gusta. We really don't appreciate you choosing this movie for us, but thank you. Our next film that we are going to watch, the first movie of 2020
And
for
we're
the
choosing
Walt
it for
Vault.
you guys because we know it's good and we like it and we need a pick me up. Okay.
Next time, we are watching 1977's
Dun, 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 dun.
Star Wars. To be more specific, Star Wars Episode 4, A
Holy
New
Stace.
Hope.
Yes, we're gonna watch Star Wars episode 4, A New Hope, because this whole year is gonna be a new hope. Okay.
Yes.
So
2020. A
So
new
I
hope.
I think it's very important that the least big Star Wars fan decided that this would be a good movie.
yeah.
Talking about
Emily
myself.
doesn't think things in Star Wars are cute. We'll get into
God,
that.
they're so ugly.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, no, their characters are disgusting. But anywho,
Baby
so
Yoda, though.
oh
Baby
God,
Yoda.
hold on. Oh God, we can't. Hold on, we can't.
Not
talk
yet,
about it.
not yet.
Okay,
Did
so
you guys watch it?
Stop
shut
it!
up.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Listen. So, we think this is a really good movie though going into the new year because obviously we're going into a new year, but we're going into a new decade. And this movie was definitely the first of its kind.
And the movie of that decade.
And it was it was
For
the
sure,
movie
the
of
movie
that
of the
decade. And because the newest movie, the end of the
The end of the
Skywalker story
saga.
Just happened.
just came out. So
So
I think
let's
it's a good
take it
ending and
back.
beginning all at once.
Let's
Yes.
take it back
Let's go back to where it
to
began.
Daddy Solo.
Daddy
Well,
Solo.
all
But
right.
listen up.
Goodness
Ooh,
Daddy Solo.
No.
All right.
But listen up. The important thing here is that we will not be doing all the Star Wars movies in
No.
order
No.
all at once. So
we
don't
might do
worry
them
about that.
sporadically throughout the year if we feel like
Yep.
And if
But-
you want us to do that, go ahead
let
and
us
drop a
know.
comment down below on our Instagram, wherever you can.
Correct.
Wherever you
If
can find
you
us.
hate Emily, you can vote to do that.
it. If you love Andre and Michelle, you can vote to do that because we just watched them all. We'll watch them all again.
I'll
it's
definitely
fine.
watch them all again.
You
Let's
know what
go.
we
You
did
don't
with-
actually need to watch them all again if you just watch them all.
Gang,
Yeah,
gang.
but it's really funny because Star Wars is a kind of a happy thing in a Andre Michelle relationship. That
Oh, because I forced Michelle to watch
he
them all.
forced me to watch it, and I'm
That's
When
how
we
we are
first
with
started
like the
dating.
Lord of the Rings.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
that's-
we're doing as we speak.
That's
Oh,
how
yeah.
we are with Star Wars and kind of
Mhm.
Harry Potter too, because he
Mhm.
made me do that too. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like a special place in our heart. Maybe Andre will post videos of his lightsaber. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
don't
that's those pictures are out there.
All right, so let us know if you
Go.
guys are excited about this new hope of a 2020 movie. We are excited.
I'm very excited.
You're welcome, Andre. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you. Merry Christmas to me. Happy Life Day. That's a Star Wars reference. Okay, you guys, if you want to keep up with us, you can go to social media. We are at the Walt Vault Pod on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, other places. No, I think that's it. Hit us up there. Tell us what movies you want us to review in 2020, and how many of them should be Star Wars movies. All of them? Okay.
Yes.
Um,
Let us know what you want us to do in 2020.
Let
That
us
was
know.
Emily.
You can send an email about how much you want us to watch Star Wars to contact@thewaltvaultpod.com. And if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/thewaltvault. There you can sign up, become a patron, get extra content, and help us keep the lights on in the vault.
Be prepared for a 2-hour episode.
No.
Emily,
I'm going
shut
to
that
remind you
down.
now, Michelle. I'm going to have to remind you again when we record. I'm reminding you right now that
What?
we are talking about that one movie.
Correct.
We're
Not
talking about
Baby Yoda?
We are talking
No.
about the beginning of the story and not the beginning of the beginning, like one
Right.
of the episodes. I'm talking about
Just the
that
beginning.
movie.
Oh, I don't really like 1, 2, 3.
Well, nobody does, but we are talking about that movie.
Yes. So
We have no foreshadowing. You are not omniscient.
So no,
no
Baby Yoda?
future spoilers.
No baby?
Correct.
No, the child.
He's a baby Yoda.
All right. You guys, that's been it for us this week on the Walt Vault and for us in 2019. We wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year, and that's it. The vault is now closed.